Hi everyone, it's Corey Jones with Remax Sarnia Realty, HomeTeamAdvantage.ca, and proud sponsors of LoveLambton.ca. Love SarniaLambton.ca. I'm just here with Angie Jackson from Waking Up Holistic, and just wanted to introduce you to Angie and what she does, and just to have her tell us a little bit about her company. So first off, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for joining us. When did you start Waking Up Holistic?
Waking Up Holistic specifically started in around August, like end of the summer 2018.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was working in the field of holistic nutrition, and then it kind of organically moved into this business.
Awesome. And it's a home-based business at this point?
Yes, it is.
Yes, excellent. And for those who aren't familiar with the term holistic, and I myself was one before I actually started to purchase some products from you, how would you best describe what holistic means?
Well, it's a pretty broad term, so I think it's one of those things where everybody has different meanings. Going to school for holistic nutrition, the big meaning of it was you're kind of like your mind, body, and spirit. So everything is like physical, mental, and like emotional, spiritual. So you're treating your body on all of those levels instead of just physical or just emotional, etc. So it's all of that, and kind of working with what I call the intelligence of nature.
Okay.
And the kind of seamlessly way it works, like I find when you sit and just watch in nature and learn from nature, you see how things kind of work organically, naturally, and doing the same things for your body. So it's kind of not introducing things you don't need to, keeping it simple.
Right, which is one of the biggest concerns, obviously, with most of the products you're purchasing, or lots of the products we purchase from the stores. They're filled with so many things that aren't natural.
Yeah, even healthy products like teas and tinctures, things of that sort, when they do testing on it, a lot may not even contain what it's advertised to contain.
Really?
So you never know. So that's why, like for me, making my own products is really important to me because I know what's in it.
Absolutely. So they can actually advertise. They can advertise something's in it that's not actually in it, or
yeah, and it's not that that is wrong, but it's when people have actually went and done the testing on it.
Okay.
Where that's happened, and it's actually more common than not.
Wow.
And also just not knowing where the products come from and the mix of what's in there and fillers and things that can be added or things that can be done to things where they don't have to explain that process because it's not necessarily an ingredient. So
Gotcha. So if something's refined differently or it's broken down differently, it may have at one point in time actually contained something from that product, but wow.
And a good example is if you see a lot of teas, you'll see natural flavor or artificial flavor added in something. Well, they don't have to say what those things are. And one of the big purposes I use tea for is that it's really easy to absorb the nutrients from it. So you're going to absorb anything that's water soluble in the tea. Right. So you're using it for health reasons, but if you have things in there that aren't healthy, you're going to be absorbing a lot of that as well. So it kind of changes the reason that you're using it if you're trying to use it to be healthier. So
Absolutely. So okay, and this wasn't on the list of questions we talked about before. So the teas that you make, are you growing most of the products yourself to put in the teas? Are you purchasing or sourcing locally, or what?
It's a mix.
Okay.
I am working towards growing foraging almost everything that I use.
Okay.
So it does take time. For example, elderberries, I just planted elderberry bushes 2 years ago. Okay. One survived, one didn't. So I planted a second one last year.
Right.
And they take about 3 years till they start producing elderberries. So you have to start doing it ahead of time, right? And then to work up to that. So every year I'm adding new products. New plants to my yard. And sometimes it's things that just show up. Like I've had goldenrod show up and it's a wonderful plant. So I started to work with that. It's everywhere and everybody has access to it.
Right.
And I am careful where I source things from. I try to source locally when I can. A lot of herbs aren't easy to find locally, so I do have to order them. So I do have a few places I order from.
Yeah. And
then as I'm able to either forage or grow them, then I switch it to be my own herb.
That's awesome. So now goldenrod. So you said it's a wonderful plant. So typically when people think of goldenrod, they think, oh no, my allergies. So what is goldenrod used for?
Well, I have a funny story that I'll tell you about it. So goldenrod, it's really drying. So it's really good for upper respiratory stuffiness. So seasonal allergies. Okay. And it's also good for, I'll put it in oil, and it's good for aches and pains on the body. And it's also really good for the urinary system because it dries everything up. So I told my kids, because I always say, like, okay, so goldenrod has really heavy pollen, and it doesn't blow in the wind. So if you have seasonal allergies, and I'm not saying you can be allergic to goldenrod, but the seasonal allergies aren't usually from goldenrod. It's usually from ragweed. It grows the same time as goldenrod, usually grows with goldenrod, and is in and it's kind of green and it's smaller, so it kind of hides behind it. And I tell my kids, I say, well, you know, you have to be careful the company you keep, because it's kind of like a trickster. It's behind goldenrod, and it's like blowing its pollen everywhere. Everybody's coughing and sneezing, and they're pointing at goldenrod and blowing it.
Yeah.
And my son had said the other day, because one of his friends was getting in trouble, and he goes, he keeps getting in trouble around his house, and then we have to leave. He said, he's acting like ragweed, Mom.
Oh, that's so funny. That's hilarious. So so goldenrod just gets a bad rep. So it's really not the goldenrod itself. So so what products would you use goldenrod in?
So right now I don't have it in any of my products because I've been working with it.
Okay.
And I take my time to get to know the plant, and I start making products. And then when I start using them or have other people use them, then kind of see how they work and how it goes. And then it'll end up on my website.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. So let's talk about that. So you're a registered holistic nutritionalist, or nutritionist rather, and you've got several other accreditations I noticed when I looked at your website. So what is the path to becoming, well, everything you've got, what does that look like? Is it traditional schools that offer those courses, or how does that?
Yeah, and it's funny because when my oldest son was really little, and I was trying to decide what I wanted to do when he got older and stuff, and I was really into nutrition. It was really important what he ate and what I ate, because I knew what I eat, he's going to eat. And somebody had asked me, are you a nutritionist? Like when we're talking about stuff, and I was like, no. And I got thinking, I was like, that might be something I might be interested in. So I go home and look it up, and I find the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. And I'm looking at the courses, and I'm like, I love this. Like, this looks amazing. And they offer in person, and they offer online. So I did the online course, and it's a 2-year course, and I did it in a year because it was so exciting, and it was all things that I could apply to my life now. So I'm like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and the books are all so good. Awesome. That go with it. So, and I love to read, and I had a baby. So when you're sitting there with a baby, what else can you do, right?
You're not sleeping. So
I had a book light, and I spent many nights reading, but I went through that really fast. Really enjoyed that. And then I moved on, and I took a course on functional nutrition, and it kind of put all that stuff together in the real world with people. So I really enjoyed that. Right. And then I kind of, I found that I always recommend teas for everything. And I really like using tea for stuff. So that was like a big thing for me. And I ended up watching one of those docu-series about herbs that was on. A friend of mine's like, you got to watch this. It's on. It's mushrooms, herbs, all this stuff. You probably think it was interesting. And I was like, wow, after I watched that. And I enrolled in the Herbal Academy, and I spent a couple of years there doing courses. And then when I was finished doing the courses I wanted to do there, I moved on to the Evolutionary School of Herbal Medicine. Okay. And now that's where I've been for the last few years studying there.
So you're still continuing with your education?
It's always ongoing.
Okay.
And then I homeschool my kids, so a lot of our schooling is plants and herbs and foraging and just being out in nature and stuff like that. So I'm able to learn a lot of stuff alongside with them. That's excellent. That too, and teach them things. And so it's really... it's always going to be ongoing. That's excellent.
That's excellent. Now, are there new plants that you discover along the way that you think, wow, I never even had any idea that this had this many health benefits?
All the time. And I always say to people, like, whatever's growing in your yard is usually what you need. Right. So then I started a garden a few years ago, and it's probably like about 75 medicinal garden, 25% food. Okay. And things just show up. I have areas, I always say I work with nature, because plants will just show up there. And like goldenrod showed up, so I let it stay, and we kind of work together, me and nature. And it's really interesting because I have patches that change throughout the seasons. Okay. Different plants that come and go, and it's always interesting to see. But if I see something coming up a lot, then I will stop and think about it. I also watch the way it interacts with other plants, because sometimes that gives you hints that they might want to work together. And that's kind of how you might make a tea formula or a salve, right?
That's really cool. Oh, now you jumped ahead of me there. So you said the word salve. So I was going to ask you what the proper pronunciation is, because I actually Googled it. And so Google Trends or Google pronunciation. Some people say solve, some people say salve, some people say salve. So you pronounce it salve.
Salve, yeah.
Okay, so talk to me about salves, because I noticed you've got several different salves on your website. Mm-hmm. So what is, I guess, what do you... What is the most popular salve you sell, I guess, first of all, and what is it used for?
I have a few. Like my two most popular, because they're completely different, is my peace salve. Okay. And all my salves are herbs that are infused into olive oil, and they're all my herbs. I do all the infusions myself. Okay. And then you mix that with beeswax. So I use local beeswax.
Okay.
And then I use Bach flower essences in mine, and it's not an essential oil.
Okay.
It's an energetic product, so it has it works more on your emotions. So
Okay.
it doesn't have a smell or scent. It's completely different than that because that kind of confuses people. So
Okay.
I have a peace salve, and it's chamomile lavender,
Okay.
and it's really good for relaxation. I add to it Bach flower essences. I use one called white chestnut and aspen.
Okay.
White chestnut stops a mind that keeps looping around, and aspen's for unknown fears or worries. So when you're worried but you don't really know why, like just, so that's in there. And you have the relaxing chamomile lavender for the nervous system. So
Okay.
then you would put it on before, if you're nervous about doing something, going somewhere, or before bed.
Okay.
My kids each have their own on their nightstands.
Oh,
and
awesome.
I rub it on their chest and on their wrists and on their temples before bed. And,
Okay. So that's where you do it. Is that where you put most salves? Would be the same locations?
depends what you're using it for. So that one's used because it's used for that.
Okay.
That's what you use it for. Some are used for specific purposes. So my herbal rescue salve is for like cuts, scrapes, bites.
Okay.
So you're going to put it right on. I usually put it on, like you put it right on the spot. But if it's going to be like something you're going to put a Band-Aid on, I would put it on the Band-Aid and put the Band-Aid on. Because,
Okay.
or it's oily and your Band-Aid won't stick.
Right.
But
Okay.
that one is calendula, yarrow, and plantain.
Okay.
Plantain is a drawing herb, so it draws stuff out. So
Okay.
if you have anything like in your cut or anything like that, it's going to draw it out. If you have like a sting or mosquito bite, so it hurts or it's itchy, it's going to pull that out.
Really?
So, and I found like just plantain itself, like if you just grab it and chew it up and put it on a bee sting, it'll stop hurting pretty much instantly.
Interesting.
And it's a big, like I always look for plantain when I'm out because I usually don't have anything with me when I'm with the kids. Like
Right.
it's a scraped knee or anything like that, then I kind of already seen where it is. And
That's awesome. So all salves are a topical,
yes.
oil-based product for various things. So are there ones for? I mean, there's ones for stings and bites and things, but are there ones for for skin problems like dermatitis or psoriasis and things like that? Do you make anything?
Yeah, I have a dry skin salve.
Okay.
So, and that one is it's comfrey, St. John's wort, yarrow, and calendula. And they're
Wow.
all from my garden.
Okay.
And I also put shea butter in that one, so it's
Okay.
a little extra rich.
Right.
And that one is used for dry skin and anything that's kind of any of the things that kind of result in the dry skin. That's
Right.
not,
Any type of irritation.
yes,
Things like that.
irritation and stuff like that. I have a few different ones for. I have the warming salve that's good for like muscles and things like that are sore.
Okay.
Also, it's really good for if you get really cold feet in the winter. You could put it on your feet and put your socks on, and it will help the circulation in your feet. So
Interesting.
You can stay warm when you're outside.
Warm when you're and you don't have to get those little hot pocket things that people buy at the dollar store that sometimes work and sometimes they don't, and probably a lot better for you because you have no idea what's in those things.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's true. But
Yeah.
I read about using cayenne pepper and putting it in your sock and putting them on because I always get really cold feet. So I'm trying to do that. It's super messy. And I realized that I have a warming salve that has cayenne pepper in it and other warming herbs. And I'm like, I can just put that on my foot. It's less messy and a lot easier than sprinkling stuff on my socks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now we met because I actually saw a post online about elderberry syrup. You're making elderberry syrup. And I don't take a lot of medicine. And I also, unfortunately, because I'm male, I do suffer occasionally from what everybody calls the man cold. So I was starting to come down with or feel like I was maybe contracting a bit of a man cold, and I saw your ad at the same time. And so I went and picked some up. And I have to say that I was a little nervous about taking it. First of all, I didn't know how to take it. So I thought, it's called syrup, so I thought, do I put it on waffles? What do I do with it? And then I realized afterwards it's something that you take as, instead of medicine. So I took it, you had recommended 3 times a day for if you feel like you're coming down with anything, and once a day for just maintenance.
Yes.
So I took it, I have to tell you, I took it 2 days, and the first day I took it 3 times, the second day I took it twice, and after just 5 times of taking this, I felt like night and day difference. Like it was unbelievable. So I'm a believer for sure. And one of the things I noticed about it was it actually tastes pretty good. Like I was nervous about it too. It didn't smell bad, but I was a little bit nervous because of how is this going to taste. When I taste it, it actually tastes pretty good. Do most of your products taste good, or is there anything that you're just like, oh, you have to plug your nose to take this one, but it really works?
No, I keep tasting mine. I try to use stuff, like when I make blends and things and stuff, I try to add things that make sense, and I always try to think of flavor. My kids drink all the teas that I make. We have tea time every day.
Oh, awesome.
And so all the teas that I have, my kids drink them too.
Wow.
But pretty much everything does taste good. I do try to keep it that way. Unless people are ordering things that are a special blend for a specific purpose, then they want certain herbs in there. I'll be like, I don't know how it's going to taste, and I'll offer to I can put some peppermint in there or what I think might complement it a little bit. But some people don't mind because it's for a specific purpose.
Okay.
I do have a product that is dandelion root, burdock root, and ginger.
Okay.
And it's something I use it. I put it in like a crock pot and I'll leave it there for 5 days in water and just put it on keep low or keep warm all week, and then just have like 2-3 cups a day. And it's really good for replenishing like your whole microbiome because it's really rich in prebiotics, so it feeds all your gut health and everything. And it will help after you've been sick. You know, when you get sick and then you keep getting sick, it kind of helps your immune system that way, or between the big seasonal changes, or if you've just had like surgery and you need, your whole gut health gets messed up from all different things and everything. Or you just need a boost, like you're feeling like really fatigued and stuff, right? It's really great for you, but it's very, very, very earthy tasting.
Okay.
And I tell people you can add honey to it. It makes it more palatable, but for some people, I don't mind it, but for some people it can be.
I'm weak. I probably would need to put honey in it for sure. So, is there something you find with all the plants that you're using, plants and herbs? Is there something that is like the super plant or the super herb that you find you're using in lots of things? Like, is there one thing more than others that you find going into your products?
I do. It's hard when you say that. I'm always thinking it's like you're like, who's your favorite child? Like that's what it feels like, right? Yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna go home and like some plants are gonna wither and die.
Oh no!
But I do use stinging nettle a lot.
Okay.
And I actually grow it in my yard. I actually made a point to, which most people don't grow it in their yards.
Okay.
But I use it a lot. It is one of my favorite herbs. It's great. It's just like it's full of nutrients, including iron, and it's really, really great for your immune system.
Okay.
It's a diuretic, so it's kind of when you drink it, it kind of, I won't say it's like a wash inside your body, and it like kind of cleans it out that way. It's really good for like if you have like arthritis in your joints, gout, things like that.
Wow.
It's also like I pick it and I put it in soup and have it that way. It's good for seasonal allergies.
Wow.
It has quercetin in it, which is really one of the things recommended to take if you have seasonal allergies between like winter and spring and summer and fall. I think the two big changes, and that's a big time too for like roots and stuff like that. That's when all the energy's in roots. So anything like dandelion root, stuff like that, you want to, if you have seasonal allergies, that's something you want to look at. But nettle's really good for it, but you need to take it prior to the seasonal allergy season.
Gotcha.
To have it work the best.
Kind of build your immune system to the allergies first. So,
yes.
So is that something, like, would you ever give them to people for their pets that suffer from allergies and seasonal allergies?
Yes, my pets get it. They get some of my herbs depending on what they are, and I make them like washes. Like I have a dog that has really itchy skin, so I do calendula and oats and make her a really strong tea with that. And then when it's warm, I wash her and use that and work it into her stuff. And I'll give her like stinging nettles, for them, burdock root, things like that. And I'll make like a tea with it, and I'll just pour a little bit on their food for them. Okay,
excellent.
Now I do also ask, like I with their vet, I do also message my vet.
Sure.
She works with herbs as well, so I'll get information and stuff like that. I don't just go and go, it's okay for me, so it's okay for them.
Right.
I do check into that as well. I should say that.
Yeah, no, for sure. So and is your vet local that works with herbs? Okay.
Yeah, we're over at the Lakeshore.
Okay. Excellent. I've heard they're great. I didn't realize. So they actually work with herbs and plants for the purpose of healing pets.
Yeah, Dr. Taylor is really knowledgeable in plants and she does. I know she's doing ongoing like schooling and stuff like that for that
Very
stuff.
Cool.
So
very cool. Well, and that's the concern for a lot of people. Obviously, is that sometimes you just get something prescribed, or whether it's for you or for your pet or your kids especially, and you just take it not knowing what it is, and then there's so many side effects and so many things that could happen negatively, and not to mention there's people who have actual allergies to things too. But one of the things I've found is that if somebody's on something for an extended period of time, it can actually lower their immune system and leave them more susceptible to other things, right? So that one of my questions I had for you, and I think it's probably a silly question after talking to you, is I'm going to assume that your family tries to stay away from traditional medicines as much as possible.
Well, it's a funny word because to me, traditional medicines are plants.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So we don't I don't use any allopathic medicine.
Okay.
My kids don't. My husband might have a couple things that he wants to. but we don't. And for me personally, like I think it's all like your own belief system and what works for you. I don't
Sure.
think there's anything wrong with it. I find it, for me, it's more for like emergency situations and things like that. And I find the everyday use of those things, or for like things like colds and flus, that plants are more effective.
Right.
And they're not going to, I find a lot of things will imbalance you when you take it. And it's just like food. If it's not like a whole food, and you're just, even supplements, I'm not a big supplement fan. I'm
Right.
using a whole plant fan, because they all have the nutrients that work together
Okay.
to work properly. Whenever you're taking something, you're not going to go out into nature and pick something off a tree that's just going to give you vitamin C.
Right.
So if you're just taking vitamin C, then you have to think about what other nutrients or what other things have to work to metabolize it, and go through your body and things like that, and it can start imbalancing stuff. So
Right.
over
Wow.
time, but there's certain times and places where we might need extra of certain things.
Sure.
So it's just kind of a balance of what works for you and what makes the most sense. But
Right.
yeah, like I have an herbal room at my house, and that's where I do all my work. And then on my upstairs, I have an herbal cupboard, and that's all of our home stuff. And I have tinctures and oils and anything that you could imagine. And
Wow.
I'm just like, go pick it from the backyard. My kids, if
That's awesome.
they need something.
That's awesome. Now, do you find that the kids are? I mean, you said that they're teaching them some things with homeschooling. Are they getting excited about plants and herbs and things like that as well? Is that something that's exciting to them?
Yeah, like for sure. They love, like, I swear, like they scrape their knees just so they can make poultices and chew up herbs
that's
and
so
stick
funny.
them on there, and they're showing their friends that. And I'll take out other kids too, like when we do stuff together with like our homeschool groups and stuff like that, and
Right.
I'll take them for plant walks and introduce them to plants and tell them stories about the plants, and the kids get excited, and you see them playing with them all, and just kind of like, I think we did a big plant walk, and when we first got there, I said to them, like, when you see all your friends, you're excited, you're like, hi, so and so, you're playing tag, you're playing games, but then if you walked up and you didn't know those kids, you would just be like, hi, you kind of stand by your mom and kind of wait until they warmed up. I said, it's the same with the field. You look at it, it's a field of plants, and you call them plants. But then when
Right.
I introduce you to them, then you know their names, and you know some of the things they do, and some of them do funny things too.
Right.
All of a sudden you know them. And I think that day ended with the kids having a burdock fight with the burdock birds. Like,
that's
it's just, that's how comfortable they became, and it was just fun watching them all play in nature like that. And they all remember the stuff I tell them whenever,
That's
I
awesome.
had them come to my house, and a bunch of them picked dandelion flowers, and then I put in oil, and I gifted everybody some dandelion oil so
Excellent.
they can use it on the body. So just like, I try to get them involved, because it's
Yeah.
important to make it with my kids, it's just normal to them.
Right.
They love being outside. They eat everything they see. They bring their old bowls out in the backyard to make backyard salads.
Really? That's awesome. That's awesome. So let me ask really quickly, what is dandelion oil used for?
Well, it depends what part of the dandelion you use, but like most of it, like it's topically, and it's really good for the skin. It's a very multi-purpose plant.
Okay.
So it's really great for dry skin. It's good for even like for the lymphatic system, getting stuff moving in your body. So if when you get like under here, it might start getting swollen if you
Right,
get sick,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you can rub that on there to help break that up from like the outside in and stuff like that. But in the wintertime, I mean, everybody gets like dry hands, dry
Right,
feet, stuff
yeah.
like that. So you can just use it right on there. It's also good cut scrapes,
Okay.
minor things like that.
Excellent. Excellent. So obviously you learned a lot about different plants when you were in school, and you say you're continuously learning. Do you, like the formulas that you make, do you take just individual, like what every individual plant does, and kind of and see what it can do together, or do you take any of your recipes or your formulas from, like, you find some of them online, or is it are most of them all ones you've come up with yourself?
It's all over the place.
Okay.
I have a certain way I've learned to do formulas, and it's often well, number one for me, I try to use as much local plants as I can.
Okay.
Because it makes sense to me. I don't want to be like, here's a tea for whatever that has a special plant from the rainforest.
Right.
Because guess what? You can never make it for yourself unless you order that plant.
Right.
But if I'm using just local things that we have, besides the fact that we're eliminating, a big footprint by doing that, it also encourages people to get to know those plants and empowers them to be able to make it themselves if they wanted to. They're like,
Okay.
oh, why can't I just pick this myself and make it?
Sure.
If they're interested in that, that's a step towards that. But I like to pick a few, whatever I'm doing, like, I like to pick a couple herbs that are for that purpose. So I have a tea, it's called Lymph Mover for lymphatic system, and I use red clover and calendula for that. They're great at moving all the lymph through your body, and your lymph is kind of like your sewage system of the body is the way I look at it. So clearing that out. Well, so to that I add nettle, because nettle is like a rinse for your body. So it's going to help bring those in and rinse it out. And then I add ginger to that because ginger is warming. It's good for the circulatory system, and it's good. And I call it like the driver. It's going to drive everything through there and just push it, give it that push that it needs. So they all kind of work together. So some herbs work better together with others or do different things when they're together. So it's not just, I see a lot of teas. So I'm always like looking around and stuff that people put together, and they'll be like, okay, well, this one's for the lymphatic system. So I'm just going to pick tea, like herbs that say they work for the lymphatic system, and just put like 5 together. And I'm like, well, first of all, it looks like it's going to taste gross.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But second of all, like you want it for it to work, you don't need everything. There's so many herbs that do all the same thing. So you need to pick just a few. And even when I'm outside in my garden, I see like herbs like touching each other, and I'm like watching them together, and I'm like, you would probably make it good. And you kind of see what they each do. And like I see like red clover and chamomile together all summer, and I'm like, red clover looks like it's going to like explode. It's kind of like a little fireworks. It wants to go into your like lymphatic system and break everything up, and chamomile is super calming. So I'm like, you guys kind of want to work together because you want to chill out clover so it can do what it needs to do. But give it, so I'm like, so I see a formula coming in the future with that, but I need to see who else wants to go in there.
Very cool.
And sometimes it's just ideas from people when they're like, can you make this or this for me? Or I have this going on, and I start researching and stuff comes together, and I might see recipes and then I change it to make it my own, because a lot of herbs do the same thing. So I pick, especially if it's something that's not local, and then what do we have that does that? Like it's all variants. I've had dreams of herbs.
Wow. Very
cool. I talk about them enough, so they're
that's right.
always there, right? But I'm like, oh, well, I guess that one might go good with
cool.
things. But yeah, they just show it just kind of all different ways that it
just
shows
all
up.
Different ways. That's awesome. So you mentioned that before about how people will contact you and say, hey, can you put these things together and do things? So do you get a lot of that? Is that a big part of your business, or is that a smaller part of your business, or is it one that you prefer? Or
well, I do like that. It feels really weird to me to make blends and be like, this one's for everybody, because I feel like we're all so different.
Right.
And because I'm small business, like all my stuff like that I make, besides things that I have, like I have some stuff downtown at the local pick at the store there.
Okay.
So that stuff obviously I made and put in the store.
Right.
But I don't usually keep my stuff pre-made, so I make it per order. So I do get people, I don't like this herb, so I can do that. I can keep that herb out, or I like this tea, but I have this going on, so I'm like, oh, why don't I add this herb to this, or add more of this and stuff, and then I can actually gear it to the person. That makes the most sense to me. Okay. To do that, but I have a few products I don't sell that I make for people because they want specific blends for things, and I just haven't made it into something on my website yet.
Right. Gotcha. So, so because you're making things fresh all the time and everything is natural, what's the shelf life typically like of your products? Are they?
Well, dry herbs are a long time, but I would say to you, like I like to use stuff up within a year.
Okay.
Stuff that's not used up within a year, my house, it turns like, then I'm now getting stuff for the next year, reforaging, repicking. So then that stuff turns into bath herbs.
Gotcha. Okay, really?
Right. And I tincture a lot of my herbs and stuff too. So you tincture them before they start losing their potency. And they'll start losing potency, but some will last longer, like roots and things. Some will last like a lot longer than something like, say, like lemon balm or something that's really has a really strong smell, because that's going to lose that stuff first before a hard root is going to lose any of its potency.
Right.
The salves are about 3 years, and that's because that's why I use olive oil. It's one of the best oils to actually extract things, and it also has a shelf life of about 3 years. So it kind of takes on the shelf life of the oil. And as long as it's not like stored in your car or something,
right?
Really
Exactly.
Then it might not last as long.
Sure, absolutely. So, and I mean, not this would be an issue for me because I'm now a believer in the elderberry syrup, and I'm going to take it every day, and it won't last me that long because I am. What would something like that typically last?
About 3 to 4 months.
Okay. And
I usually tell people, like, when they're getting elderberry syrup. The other thing I make in the wintertime too is I love using apple cider vinegar. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I said that.
That's okay.
And I like to infuse herbs into it.
Okay.
And one of my favorite is elderflower infused apple cider vinegar. Elderflower, like everybody talks about the elderberry, but the elderflower for me is so powerful at help supporting the immune system. But I'll do that. This year I did goldenrod in apple cider vinegar because it's really mineral rich just as a nice replenishing drink. But I just add a spoonful to my water in the morning. Okay. So something like that. I've made fire cider before, but I didn't do it this year. I just tell people to use it up before. This will last a longer because it's in apple cider vinegar. Right. But I say use it up by the end of like the winter season. Okay. To give it kind of to give you a goal to to take it all to.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. So for somebody who's looking at exploring holistic products, so again, I I don't know if I've ever even purchased a holistic product before. I probably have things that I've claimed to be holistic products from the store or whatever. But what are two of your products that you would be like, these are the two must-haves? You have to have these in your cupboard because this is, I don't like. What are the top ones that you would recommend?
Well, I think like the most effective stuff would be teas because it's
Okay.
like I said, it's an easy way to get nutrients into your body. Like I don't take multivitamins; I would take tea every day. I give my kids tea
Gotcha.
every day.
Okay.
And definitely something for like the immune system would be probably a good one. I have a few. I have immune spice one, and I have anything with nettle. I have super nettle mint,
Okay.
something like that, and probably another one like my day calm or something like that that has like herbs in it, or evening calm. One of
Okay.
those ones that have
Yeah.
herbs that replenish your nervous system.
Right.
Because a lot of us like we are under stress like 24/7 and don't realize it. Even if you don't feel stressed when you're in like inside artificial lights, computers, phones, all those things on it is stressing our body out.
Right.
So it really depletes our nervous system. So these things help to keep it strong.
Awesome.
So I think a couple teas like that would be a nice balance. So.
Okay, so let me ask. So with the teas, your kids drink them. So at what age did they start drinking the teas? And do you remember?
When they're old enough to ask for it, like little, like toddlers, they used to have little tiny cups.
Okay.
That they would use, and they started with drinking from my tea. So none of my teas have caffeine in them.
Okay.
So they started drinking with my tea, and then I started getting them little cups, and they have tea time with me, and we still do that, especially in the afternoon for school, kind of wind down, have our tea, and they like to pick what they want. One of my teas that I sell, my oldest son actually designed it.
Really?
He picked it's called lemon catmint.
Okay.
Lemon balm, catnip, and peppermint. And it is the only tea that my kids can keep down if they have anything that's like gastro where they're throwing up.
Really?
It's so good for, a lot of people don't realize how wonderful catnip is. It's really good for like any like upset stomachs, and it's good for anxiety that manifests in the stomach. So you hear a lot of kids saying, I have a tummy ache, and it's because they're stressed, anxiety. Well, and then when you look for herbs for anxiety, we usually have anxiety in our stomach or in our heart where it's like our heart's beating really fast and all that, or in our head where we're worrying and we can't stop. So you have to look at what herb is best for that type of anxiety. So for kids, catnip, and people too, because we get that too, but that butterflies and stomach feeling, catnip is really good for that.
Really?
And then lemon balm and peppermint are both good for the digestive system. Lemon balm is really good for nausea. But yeah, it works really great together, and I trust his instincts, and it tastes good.
That's awesome.
So that's a nice popular one amongst the kids because he's so proud of it.
Yeah, for sure, and as he should be. So are they typically having hot teas or cold teas, or do you both, or do you?
We do both, and they like. So we do hot teas with a little bit of honey in it.
Okay.
And we have our little we have different kinds of teapots, whatever we want to use. I have a tea board with a pig on it that is good luck to the home, that you pour your hot water on and warm up your cups first and stuff. And they really enjoy doing that. That's fun and stuff. But I make cold teas as well, especially in the summertime.
Okay.
I make one that's red raspberry leaf and hibiscus. So it's pink. So it's like a pinkish red, like it's pretty bright.
Right.
And it tastes really good. It tastes like iced tea if you like iced tea, but doesn't have caffeine in it and has lots of nutrients in it. And they love that one cold. Okay. And I make that for me, and now I have to make it again every time I make it because they drink it all. Right.
That's funny. That's so funny. So listen, obviously, one of the things we didn't talk about necessarily is that you're actually a certified health coach as well. And I don't know if maybe we did mention it. Being a health coach and operating a business that sells holistic products, obviously you would probably tend to eat healthy in the home primarily. Let me ask, are there any guilty pleasures that you personally have or that your family has that you're just like, I have to do it?
Well, absolutely, because we live in Sarnia.
Okay.
So, of course, what goes hand in hand with Sarnia, everybody comes to Sarnia, it's under the bridge, and it's the fries under the bridge. And specifically, it's Yogi's fries. Like, my whole family is like that. My kids are devastated if we ever go down there for fries and they're closed. My youngest son had soccer in Point Edward all summer, so we would go for French fries quite often.
That's
We're
awesome.
down there, and then usually after soccer, we would go over to the ice creamery.
Okay.
Because me and my kids are all gluten-free, dairy-free.
Okay.
And they have a whole selection of vegan ice creams that taste just like ice cream.
Okay.
And lots of flavors they can choose from. So Excellent. It's like super exciting that they can just get ice cream.
That's awesome. That's good to know. Yeah. So full disclosure, I actually ran into Angie yesterday at Yogi's because we both saw the same post on social media that said, "Hey, we're still open for a couple more days. You should come down." So I ran into her there actually. So, okay. So we should probably wrap things up. But one of the things I wanted to ask you is, besides lovesarnialambton.ca, where's the best place for somebody to find your products and find information about you?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Waking Up Holistic.
Okay.
And I also have a website, wakingupholistic.ca.
Okay.
And then I also have products in the local pick downtown Sarnia on Christina Street.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with me today and explain just a little bit more about a lot more about holistic products for myself. I can assure you that like I say, just after one product alone, I'm a believer. So I'll definitely be replenishing my stock of some. But with that, we should probably wrap things up. This episode of Love Sarnia Lambton. If you have any real estate needs or would like to chat real estate, please feel free to give us a call or contact us through hometeamadvantage.ca. Thanks again, Angie. Have a great day.
Thank you.